So that is still a possibility. Again, the bigger question is on the levels. When do we break, right? So the way as a trader I work is that each level is a level until it's broken. So let's just say we pull back here. We could very clearly see that there was a lot of support here where it kind of consolidated, and that level's around 26,700. We then have a level at 25, and then this beautiful upsloping trend line around 22. As we break those levels, like if we break 22 here, you then have this pivot low at around 19 and change, essentially 20, and then the double bottom at 15.7. So I still think that's possible. I find it very hard to believe that somehow the crypto market has bottomed with so much bullishness in it. You never really got the panic and fear. Even with FTX, you didn't get people saying, I'm throwing out crypto, it's done. You know, for the most part, it was buy the dip. And that's a very concerning mentality if you look at all the bottoms in markets in history. That doesn't happen. Also, you have so many cryptos that are still out there that have very minimal use case, if any, and they're still alive and well, versus in the dot-com era, you basically saw a washout of those dot-coms that had no use case. So there's a lot of signals to me that are very concerning, and so I want to be very careful about, you know, whether or not we can get down to 12 or 13. I think we still can. 9, if we break 12 to 13, then we're headed right for 9. So we are at an epic level on Bitcoin, all right? And what I mean by that is that in terms of psychology of the market, this level is the top level to watch, meaning that if we can break it, that's very bullish that the lows are officially in on Bitcoin at 15,700. If we can't, then to me, there's still an opening for Bitcoin to go down to 12 to 13,000 level and maybe even below that. And the reason I bring up this level at 30,500 specifically is if we take a trend line and we go back to the lows starting in 2021 before the big pop, then the retrace came right back in there where we hammered on it for a long period of time. We then had the run to 69,000 and we came back in and consolidated right along that line. So psychologically, when we broke this, that was very bearish for crypto. If we could get above it and stay above it, then that's very bullish for crypto. So again, right now we have made a full round trip from this breakdown here all the way back to that level, but we're still hammering on that level. And again, the level's approximately 30,500. I want to see, can it get above? Can it stay above if it gets above? If it does, I think that bodes very well that the crypto markets have bottomed out for this bear market cycle. So it's so interesting on the Bitcoin price because number one, when it was at 15,700, 20,000 even, we were oversold. There's no doubt about it. We were just coming off of FTX's collapse, lots of fear, all that stuff. Anytime you get a maximum fear, you're going to get a reflex buy and kind of pop. It's just the nature of the cycle of markets. What ended up happening is after we were up here, we started to fall back down, and then the banking crisis happened, and I think there was a lot of money that went right in from the regionals into Bitcoin, right? I mean, and again, I've said this before, but if there's one reason for Bitcoin to be Bitcoin and be what it is, that crisis in the banking markets showed it. It's supposed to be an alternative to the fiat currency system and the banks and all that stuff. So that really propelled new money in. And then as of now, we've seen generally a risk-on environment in stocks, in cryptocurrencies, which has kept it kind of grinding higher. So I think that was kind of a little bit of a situation where it was very, very good for the crypto markets in Bitcoin. I do think it's still a risk asset, even though it's still showing signs every once in a while of being a store of safety. So as of now, as long as we stay below this 30,500 level, I'm going to remain slightly bearish, thinking we still are not through the bear market. But again, if we get above there, then it could be a game changer. For me, the most success has come from short-term trading, right? Where when we get this volatility in the markets, I'm jumping in and then I'm jumping out, and then I'm usually getting back in at around the same level. So it's been a trader's market. I think that when you had the Fed intervention with all the money printing, it basically made the markets just go sideways to up for long periods of time. I remember the VIX getting down sub 10 over the last 5 or so years when the printing was going on, when quantitative easing was going on. And that was very detrimental to people like me who are swing traders, who like the quick moves, the volatility. Now we're back in a volatile market, and that is just gravy for us that want to get in and want to get out. And I can make so much more money than a long-term investor by trading the levels back and forth. It's a matter of, I'm a trader that's always reanalyzing, right? Every day I'm doing a risk-reward assessment. I'm doing a probability assessment. Are we going to bounce here? Are we going to break here? How's that going to play? and then that dictates my daily trades on a consistent basis.
I want to check in on one of your calls for 2023, which was that gold will outperform both Bitcoin and the S&P this year. This is the same call that you made last year, and it did come true last year. So now that we are about 4 months into the year, how is that standing for you? Is that still what you're thinking?
It is still what I'm thinking. So gold's performed amazingly well. I think it's beating the S&P right now, not obviously Bitcoin this year, but I do think that Bitcoin could run into some serious issues before year end. So I'm going to stick with the safe, steady gold trade here. And again, part of it is being risk adverse in a market where we don't know the outcomes of banking crisis and different things like that. And I think that's the play right now, is to be safer and be kind of in the sure bet versus going for the kind of the home run, which could be Bitcoin maybe continuing up, but Bitcoin could also drop 20, 30, 40% in a very short amount of time. So that's the beautiful thing about it, is I'm a more short-term trader, meaning I day trade, I swing trade. Swing trading is holding for days or weeks or even a couple months. And so when you get added volatility like this in the stock market, in asset prices, there usually is fear-driven selling, which is an overreaction, and then fear or greed-driven buying, which is an overreaction. And so there's counter-trend plays to that. So it actually has been an amazing trading environment in the stock market, even in crypto. But again, it's not for the faint of heart. You have to kind of be willing to step up when everyone else is panicking. I think just keep in mind that this is a market where, you know, the good traders and investors will stand out. Bear markets notoriously show you who basically can trade and who can't. In a bull market, everyone looks like a genius. But what I always say to people is, you know, take 5 minutes a day and try to learn one thing about the charts, learn one thing about human psychology, and in a year you will be a totally different investor with so much more insight, making such much better decisions. So again, just a little education on a daily basis makes a big difference. So I'm not sure about the banking sector itself, if we'll have some major issues, you know, that continue. But the one thing I do know is that when you have inflation, when you have interest rates that are at 0.25 basis points and you raise them to 5% in a very short period of time, you're going to break things in the system. The banking sector, the regional banks that we saw go under, that was just the start. To me, that was a tremor before something bigger. So I highly doubt that when they jack rates up this much, that's the only issue we have, and that somehow we're going to avoid any sort of major recession or major breakages in the economy. I'm more in the camp that this is probably a precursor to some other big things that are coming down the pike.